There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you?
Hey ho, Kokomo waffle irons. We got us a white-hot, steamy flange of razzmatazz this week here at Max Izzle, Mike Spatzel, Movies, Frozzle, No Pork Rinds. Our series, didn't win, is off the pump handle with 2007's Juno, one serious carburetor of a Range Rover. We're here to bricklay some major Twizzlers across the access road, if you solder my Christmas lights.
Are you okay?
Oh, God. Coming up with this slang is really hard. Ow.
Why are you?
Ow! I think I may have dislocated my hip trying to be hip. I need a nap and some muesli. But before that, I need to let you know that I'm your host, Max Home Fries Levine, and over there, rearranging the living room set on his front lawn, is Mike Thundercats Are Go Loose. Lay some hip lingo on us, Daddy-O.
Call me Dash of Pepper.
Okay.
Or just Dash.
Just Dash?
Dash.
Dash. I was trying to work snaz in there somewhere, but I couldn't.
That is a term only applied to Maison de Velour. The French socks of American wine.
Yes, and our current sponsor.
Yes.
Maison de Velour. For that time your septic tank really needs cleaning.
Yeah, we're going to get a lot of bucks for that one.
Oh, yeah. But before we start chugging down Maison de Velour Dog 2020, we've got our poll question.
Poll question.
Now, this little keg of dynamite that Mike lit last week was, what do you think is the best movie ever made? Not necessarily your favorite.
Yep.
But the best. And you had thoughts. Many of them seemed to be about smacking Mike upside the head, but
none of them were.
Well, they were the ones I wrote in crayon were.
Like everything.
Yes. Brian Mundo wrote, "Oh, I'm torn."
Oh, he isn't.
Does that mean he's lying naked on the floor?
No.
Yes.
He's going to say Fifth Element. I just know
Yes, he did. My Fifth Element is my normal answer, but Wizard of Oz is kind of amazing.
Oh, okay.
Our entire episode on Wizard of Oz. Roland Hardy says 2001 A Space Odyssey. Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one.
I'll say.
AJ Sheems or Shemus?
I've heard it's Shems.
Shems, okay. AJ Shems says The Shawshank Redemption. Oh, interesting. Nick Hoffman says, if I had to pick one, and you do, it would have to be Lawrence of Arabia.
He loves that movie.
Dave Meiselman says The Godfather, though I could pick a dozen others for various reasons.
Yeah.
Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Derek Steele.
He's a photographer.
Says, I refuse to answer this question.
Of course he does.
Okay, that's fair.
He could easily have just not written anything, but...
No, he wants it on record.
Fine.
Tyler Stewart says, too many great movies. And then says, for a while, Adventures of Baron Munchausen was really up there, especially on the big screen.
Wow,
But Princess Bride has since eclipsed it. That's interesting.
Huh.
I think part of it is because Baron Munchausen is one person's vision, and Princess Bride is such an amazing ensemble acting, directing, and screenwriting. Interesting. He actually adds, The Princess Bride is pretty much flawless. Okay.
See our entire episode on The Princess Bride.
Our most taciturn, man of few words, Adam Mark, says, so hard. That's what she said.
Oh, we have a rating to maintain.
Oh, right. To me, best means the most enduring, the most cohesive, the best of directing, writing, acting, etc. Something that is greater than the sum of its parts. One that haunts our collective cultural imagination and will be remembered for all time. For me, it has to be The Godfather, 1972. Okay, a story that breaks a lot of basic rules. No hero, just an anti-hero. No punishment for the anti-hero. Criminals held up as nobles, on and on. Infinitely quotable, heavily but subtly layered with foreshadowing, the movie transcends cinema and has become woven into American legend. True. It's haunting, in how it takes misogynistic, racist criminal lowlives, murderers, and turns them into noble family men maintaining order. Yes, the movie intoxicates the viewer like a seductress. Ooh, this is getting steamy. I gotta crack open some Maison de Velour.
It's got a pull tab.
Yeah. The state...
That's the sound of quality.
Yup. The state is designed to fail you. Protect your own. The Enlightenment was a lie. Family is all that matters. The rule of law is a scam, so pull your own scam. The modern world is just a ruse. Give in to your medieval instincts. A world of brightly lit kitchens and wedding parties cannot be separated from dark basements, alleys, and mattress-strewn tenements.
Ooh.
The Godfather's final monologue, where he only regrets not amassing more power, always haunts me in part because the viewer actually cheers for the family. And he actually quotes Don Corleone,
"I never wanted this for you. I worked my whole life. I don't apologize to take care of my family. And I refuse to be a fool dancing on a string held by all those big shots. I don't apologize. That's my life. And I thought that when it was your time, that you would be the one to hold the string. Senator Corleone, Governor Corleone. Well, it wasn't enough time, Michael. It wasn't enough."
Michael, "We'll get there, Pop. We'll get there." Hooah! It's exactly
I would like you to apologize.
Never. It's amazing. It's truly stunning cinema. It is great. Okay. Wow.
See our entire episode on The Godfather.
The Godfather. Tim Potter says, "This is difficult because depending on the genre, I would have different answers. But I would have to say, oh dear. I would have to say Avatar. That one just hit home for me. It brought up all sorts of emotions. I completely lost track that it was animated. The story was good. The music was good. The animation was amazing. Yeah, I really loved that movie."
Yeah, brought up a lot of things from me, too, like last night's dinner.
Oh, dear.
We're going to have to disagree.
Yeah. George Saulnier says, "Can't. There is no one. Film has too many parts for anyone to excel at all. Then there are technical and stylistic changes over the years that make ranking films from past decades difficult to assess appropriately. I feel I could probably mention several, but not one, especially given the caveat that I may not even like it. There are so many films considered great that I just can't stand, like several mentioned above. So I am at a loss." Okay, that's fair. Val Coons, Hewer of Mighty Footsteps.
Doesn't she own a vineyard? I think
does.
she does. And what do they produce there?
Why, they produce the finest of Maison de Velour.
She's going to kill me.
Yeah. He says, "I don't think it's possible to call one movie the absolute best. There are too many variables. On the other hand, there are movies that I think have gotten as close to my definition of cinematic perfection as they could get. Films that have characters we care about, who transform by the end of the movies, stories that make sense, and leave us to imagine what happens next. Casablanca is on the top of that category for me. So is a little film that you and I are particularly fond of, Strictly Ballroom. Of course, there are tons more, but you only have so much time." Dave! That's starting with the principle that art movies are, quote, better, unquote, than movies that are simply made to make money, I would go with Smiles of a Summer Night, though La Strada, Le Regale du Jeu, and The Seventh Seal come to mind. Okay. For Japanese movies, I suppose Ran or Seven Samurai are contenders. Ballad of Narayama is exceptional as well. Movies like Shura, The Woman in the Dunes, Fires on the Plain, and The Night Drum also come to mind. The list is just too long. Wow. Okay, yeah. Dave.
I love that Dave takes us around the world.
Yeah. Charles Forsyth brings us Ilsa, She-Wolf. No, wait. Too dated. I kind of want to say Dune Part 2 because, wow. But Dune 2 sits on the shoulders of, dare I say it, Avatar. Yes, a movie about big blue people who live in a tree is the best movie ever made.
They don't even make cookies.
Charles, you've picked an interesting hill.
Yeah.
Why? because it did movie better than other movies. It was a visual spectacle, yet immersive. You weren't just seeing the spectacle, you were part of it. And Cameron used 3D like no one before or since, haven't seen the sequel, to aid the immersion and not as a gimmick. The story was cookie cutter, but it was solid 3-act structure that was engaging. You don't need complexity to be good. The plot twist at the end of The Sixth Sense was genius, but can you imagine a Shyamalan-style twist at the end of Avatar? It would have been ridiculous. There's no crime in conventional storytelling if it's well done. A great movie needs to be seen in a theater, I guess, so if a movie is just as good in your living room, I think maybe it just didn't movie as well as Avatar. Okay, don't know if we agree with this, but that's a very well-stated case.
Oh, I know if we agree or not.
Yeah.
For those who don't know,
good one, Charles. Yeah,
I hate Avatar.
Yeah, see the episode of the Movie Wrench. See the episode of the Movie Wrench where Mike tells us what could have made it better.
The only reason we have this show is because of that movie, because I was so angry. So we will never do that show. Or did we do Avatar? No, we did not, because I have not seen it again.
Not yet.
We will never do that, because all it's going to be is me screaming.
Okay, I agree. I'm going to have to pick that at some point if we do another.
I won't be here that week. You can talk to the pony. But I do agree. What Charles wrote was very well thought out. So thank you, Charles.
And of course, finally, from that land of black and white movies and black and white penguins, Vince, as best movie ever is such an unfair question. Of course, Faster Pussycat Kill is on everyone's short list. But I have more films that I love in different genres. I used to claim Metropolis was my favorite film, but after reading the book, Thea von Harbo's not-so-casual racism made me see it differently.
Oops.
Now I would say King Vidor's The Crowd. Oh, wow.
Don't know it.
Or Pandora's Box. Of course, a film I watch a couple of times a year and saw in the cinema more times than I can remember is Aguirre, Wrath of God. Not only because it irks Max to think about Werner Herzog. I would not get a DVD player until it was released on DVD. It had to be the first disc I bought. I also could name Pinocchio, the Disney animation, as it was so amazing and still is after all these years. Interesting collection there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vince. Wow. Yeah. So, but yeah, these were very cool. But Mike, what's your answer?
I mean,
what's the best movie?
Charles hit it right on the head. Ilsa, She-Wolf, the the way it's crept into the collective consciousness.
Lying.
And here's the thing. I don't believe in superlatives either. There is no best. It's too subjective, and that goes for anything. But last week's film, Citizen Kane, has been touted by so many people as the best film ever, which we just both determined wasn't, although in your case you thought it's in the top list.
Yeah, it's up there.
But I just wanted to hear, because usually this will get people going, so that's why I asked it. Some films that I think are not only technically near perfect or just as a film story-wise near, Third Man's got to come near the top. I adore that film. I think we understand the characters perfectly well. There isn't a typical hero in it at all. The ending, especially for 1948, whatever it was made, is very non-typical Hollywood, because the guy and the girl do not get together. And for many, many decades, people would name drop Harry Lime, and people would still kind of know what it meant. I don't think that's true anymore.
Probably not.
Also, probably my favorite performance by Orson Welles. So, I would also put, as my sister pointed out, as Val Koons, the Diamante of Q Footsteps pointed out, Casablanca. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that film. When I get an opportunity to see it in a theater, I will go again. I don't care. The writing is brilliant. The characters are all wonderful. The acting, the cinematography. It's hard to get better than that. I also am very, very fond of Blade Runner, but I don't consider it a best picture because a lot of people have pointed out, I literally don't care about anybody in this film, which isn't a reasonable discussion. So, yeah, I'm going to go with, and I could even put this is Spinal Tap in there, because not only did it kind of invent its own subgenre, it literally is perfect at what it's doing.
It basically is the gold standard for the mockumentary.
Right. Before there were, I don't think there were any before it. And it does it so well, and it is so believable. I'm sure there are people that thought that Spinal Tap was a band.
Yeah. No, there were. I remember that when it came out, people were like, I never heard of this band.
Which was part of the point. But
yeah.
What about you? What do you consider the best movie ever made?
I can't answer that. I don't think there is one. I think the idea of the best, the perfection is the goal. It's not something you ever arrive at. Casablanca gets awfully close. Just in terms of that's the movie that hits everything. But I don't think there is a best. If there is one, I have not seen it. And the whole point of one of the reasons I love movies is I'm still looking for it.
Yeah. Well, and everything's so subjective. The only way it could be the best is if it was a film that literally everybody who saw it loved it.
Like, and that's not possible.
No. And if it was, I think we'd have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved it. We all enjoyed it. It is the greatest movie ever.
You are correct, MaxBot 9000. Yeah, so...
Yeah, it would basically be a mind control movie.
But it is fun to talk about and fun to hear your answers.
It absolutely is. Absolutely. They were very cool. And while we want more answers, this may not be quite as grandiose a subject, but it is inspired by this week's movie.
Oh.
What is your favorite Michael Cera performance?
Oh.
Yeah.
Does it have to include the word wet?
No, it does not, but it probably will.
So
yes,
mean.
Michael Cera, you're so soft and wet. And we'll tell you at the end of the show how you can answer this burning question.
Put it out with some Maison de Velour.
Are you kidding? That paint thinner, it would go up like an inferno.
Sorry. I know somebody who's going to write us an angry letter. So we're going right to the trivia, right, Max?
Mike, as usual, you've got everything wrong. Before we get to the trivia, we do want to address a little bit of viewer mail from our loyal listener, The Wheeze.
Listener mail.
I have an idea for your podcast. Look at TV show episodes that have been inspired by famous movies or spoofs of famous movies. Probably do a lot of Simpsons, Futurama, etc. Might be fun, and you might be able to cover a few TV episodes with common themes in a single episode. How many times have The Simpsons done Hitchcock, for example? That's interesting. I mean, right away I can't help think, but like, oh yeah, that old Dick Van Dyke episode with the Walnuts, which is kind of Invasion of the Body Snatchers inspired.
Kind of.
But there's a ton. I mean, there's so many TV episodes influenced by Christmas Carol or It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
And Hitchcock, Star Wars.
The only thing that might not work is that then it wouldn't be Max Mike movies, would it? I don't know.
Well,
let's give this a thought.
That's and what do you guys think? You think that would you be interested? That sound like an interesting thing that we could violate our own boundaries for?
Hey, it's been 284 episodes. Yeah, and at the very least, we definitely thank The Wheeze for his suggestion. We love series suggestions.
We do love that, and I think it sounds like fun, quite honestly.
Well,
I
of course, you absolutely adore The Simpsons, so.
I do, but there's a lot of other TV shows that would work.
Yeah, so we'll give it a thought, and maybe that would be a good idea. Maybe a special. We'll do a special.
Yeah. But until then, now we have trivia. Mike.
Okay.
The facts. Budget, $7.5 million. This is 2007. That is chump change.
That Star Wars costs less than that.
Yeah.
More than that.
More than that.
$8 million.
Worldwide gross, $232 million.
Well, that's why we're still seeing Juno 23 in the theaters right now.
Yeah, we'll get to that. This is the first film that was released by Fox Searchlight Pictures to break the $100 million mark.
Oh.
Yeah.
Twice.
This is directed by Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Ghostbusters Reitman.
Oh.
And it's written by Diablo Cody, who has the distinction of having the coolest name of any Hollywood writer ever.
It's fake.
No, who cares? Movie was nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, also Best Director, Best Actress, and it won for Best Writing for Original Screenplay. That was the only one it won.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
J.K. Simmons said he was so impressed with the script that he would have been happy just to play the teacher who has no spoken dialogue. Anything to appear in the film.
He won an Oscar. Dum 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 dum.
It was very challenging to show all 4 seasons within a 30-day filming schedule. This movie took 31 days to film. Solutions included digitally darkening spring cherry blossoms to look like summer flowers, and having crew members off camera throw falling silk leaves for autumn. There was a fluke snowstorm, unusual for March in Vancouver, and 3 different shots were coordinated that day before the snow could melt.
Wow.
Since fake snow is very expensive, so this saved a lot of money.
And it always looks fake, no matter what.
It does, except if it's asbestos. See our episode on Wizard of Oz. After the box office success and the gaining of a huge following, Jason Reitman was asked by the executives, how about doing a sequel? To which he stated, what could it possibly be? Juno gets pregnant again? And concluded the story of Juno was complete.
Good.
Billy Joe Armstrong, you know who that is?
I'm going to go with no.
I didn't either. He's the lead of Green Day.
Okay.
And he enjoyed Bren's line, you didn't have to drive out to East Jesus Nowhere so much that on Green Day's album 21st Century Breakdown, he wrote a song called East Jesus Nowhere. The hamburger phone that shows up a couple of times in the movie is owned by Diablo Cody.
Oh, good.
According to Jason Reitman, the final scene where Vanessa is drinking, that was real wine. By the time they finished shooting the scene, Jennifer Garner was a little bit drunk.
I forget now. Jennifer Garner is the daughter of James Garner? No.
Yes.
She is. Okay.
Oh, yes, I believe she is his daughter.
Okay.
I mean, look at the chin. The comic book Most Fruitful Yuki is a real Japanese manga series.
It is?
In 2001, it was published as a one-shot comic, but following its appearance in this movie, it's since been translated into many languages, including English, and has gained a cult following.
By the way, real quick, she is not, in fact, the daughter of James Garner.
I knew that. I was just testing.
Her father was a chemical engineer. So don't write us. Right, Max.
You don't know that James Garner wasn't at some point a chemical engineer.
Named Billy?
He might have changed his first name. Jason Reitman used the different seasons to frame the story because he thought they mirrored the 3 trimesters of Juno's pregnancy. Michael Cera discovered that he could not successfully take a mouthful of Tic Tacs and then say his lines. So he just holds the box up to his mouth. The, oh boy. The pork swords on the track team, which Juno comments on, were achieved by hanging actual balls, I mean sports balls, not anything else, inside the waistband of their shorts. Reitman would then ask the boys to kick up their knees as they ran so the balls would bounce.
You don't see anything. You really don't.
No, you don't. The original title of this movie was supposed to be Junebug, but they changed it so it wouldn't be confused with the Amy Adams 2005 movie Junebug.
Or the B-52 song.
Or that, or the actual insect. The animated opening title sequence was created by a company called Shadowplay, and the shots of Elliot Page walking were achieved by having him walk on a treadmill, which was later removed. Juno's handwritten message in Bleeker's yearbook was actually written by Diablo Cody. That's her handwriting.
Oh.
In an interview with here we get to a sort of interesting topic. In an interview with The Guardian in 2018, Diablo Cody said that the one thing she would have changed about the film is to make it clearer as to why Juno chooses not to have an abortion. She said, quote, "It was simply because she did not want to. It was not about any type of feeling that abortion was wrong. I'm pro-choice," unquote. She also went on to say that the fact that some people have interpreted the movie as anti-choice is very upsetting to her.
Well, we'll come to that.
The compact disc from which Mark plays Superstar by Sonic Youth is If I Were a Carpenter, a 1994 compilation of covers of the Carpenters song.
Oh,
Okay.
I'd hammer in the morning.
Yeah. The song that Mark and Juno play together is Doll Parts by Hole. The song that Bleecker and Juno play together at the end of the film is Anyone Else But You by the Moldy Peaches. One thing I had not noticed until I read this piece, there are no cell phones in this movie.
No.
This is 2007. It's a little unusual. When searching for potential parents for her baby, Juno says she's looking for someone cool, like a graphic designer. In real life, both Elliot Page's father and Diablo Cody's ex-husband are graphic designers.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. At the beginning of the movie, Juno is seen drinking large amounts of Sunny D.
Ugh.
Large amounts of vitamin C found in Sunny D was considered a home remedy to induce abortion in an early pregnancy.
Oh.
It's not, this has never been proved that it actually works.
I could believe an overdose of Sunny D would kill almost anything.
Yeah. Mike's absolute favorite, the Wilhelm scream, does show up in this movie when Juno and Mark are watching The Wizard of Gore.
Oh, I'm thankful I did not notice it.
Bren McGuff, Juno's stepmom, has a nail parlor called Bren's 10, which I never understood, except I thought 10 referred to the fingers.
Yeah.
But this is a reference to the Bren 10 pistol, which was Don Johnson's sidearm of choice as Sonny Crockett in Miami Vice.
Huh?
Yeah.
Guns and nails?
Yeah, why not?
I thought it was roses.
I guess it's like Curl Up and Die, you know, Carrie Fisher's salon in the Blues Brothers. And just for you Greek and Roman mythology fans, Juno was the Roman goddess of childbirth and marriage.
Oh.
There's a bunch of other stuff on, like the music references and a lot of stuff that Diablo Cody snuck in, but I think that'll do. Unless, Mike, you got anything?
No. We'll come back to the soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, that brings us to...
the plot.
16-year-old Juno finds herself in a dilly of a pickle. Her ego is preggo. She's pregnant by her best friend, Paulie Bleecker, and she's so not ready to be a mother. Unable to go through with an abortion, she decides to give her baby up for adoption to Mark and Vanessa, an ostensibly perfect couple in St. Cloud. Oh, sure, you betcha. As Juno's pregnancy develops, so does her realization of many things, such as the true nature of Mark and Vanessa's not-so-perfect relationship, who the mature one is in their family, her feelings towards Bleecker, and her understanding of the support she's actually getting from her family, and hopefully that her future as a rock star may need some rethinking. The actual plot elements of this movie are fairly simple. It's all about the characterization and all about the dialogue.
Oh, that was it?
That's it.
Oh.
The film. Like I say, simple plot.
Well,
So, had you seen this before?
I have. I actually did see it in the theater when it came out. So.
Yep. I saw it at a special sneak preview that a friend of mine had tickets for.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I knew nothing about this movie.
No, me either. But
I honestly thought it was about the city in Alaska.
Oh, I didn't think of that, but I might have even seen a preview. I don't remember. Which, if I had seen a preview, I'm not sure why I would have gone to see it. But because it's not the thing that would normally interest me. But this was a time period where I used to go to the movies every Friday night. There was always something, right? I just liked to go. Not true anymore. But so I would have seen a lot of things, like we saw Master and Commander one week because why? Because let's go to the movies and see that. Do I care about high seas films? No. So yes.
Pippin, no.
So we will saw it in the theater. That's pretty cool. Do we want to start off with the actors?
Let's talk about the actors.
Want to start at the top with Elliot?
Yep, let's start with Elliot. Okay, no one else could have done that character. I'm sorry. I cannot think of anyone else doing that character.
No, and I will say this. Let's get this right out of the way, because this is going to affect what we talk about the other actors. This is a writer's movie. Is
God,
this a writer's movie?
This is seriously a writer's movie.
Every character is glib and quick off the remark.
It's all about the use of language and the
And the number one in this case is Juno, played by Elliot Page. And he does such a good job of just flinging this stuff out. Like, I can't even imagine memorizing it, never mind being able to say it as sincerely as he does in this role.
Not to mention just the diction required and the verbal gymnastics, because some of those lines are very hard just physically to say. And he nails it. And they all do.
You also just get the idea that this is something that they would say. Like, Elliot as Juno would say this. Like, this is something that she says to her friends and stuff. And I think Elliot does a great job. A very diminutive person. I can tell that Elliot is not...
Tiny little person.
But...
100 pounds soaking wet, probably.
And the thing is that he's playing this character that is meant to be kind of a loner or kind of the odd one out, except let's face it, that's the person you want to hang out with.
Oh, God. I don't understand why Juno doesn't have mobs of friends. Because she is clearly the coolest person in that school.
Well, look at Juno's best friend, Leah, played by Olivia Thirlby. She's just as glib, but she seems almost more like the cheerleader type.
She is literally a cheerleader.
Oh, that's right, she is.
She's more mainstream. I mean, some of the visuals they use to sort of hammer home how Juno is literally not mainstream. Most of the time when we see her in the halls, unless she's alone or talking to one person, she's always walking against the crowd. Everyone else is going one direction, and she's going through them.
Yeah, it's a visual metaphor that, I gotta say, in a way, doesn't hold up because we all are like, no, she's interesting. I want to hang out with Juno. And, Elliot seems so comfortable in the role. So, And she almost seems like the kind of character that would be the magic pixie girlfriend if there was actually a boyfriend that could have that. But we have Michael.
She's too self-contained. She's too strong a character to be the because a manic pixie girlfriend isn't like a person. She's a plot device.
And Polly Bleeker is not that boyfriend.
I know
you're getting dandruff in the milk.
Michael Cera, I think he was also absolutely ideal casting for this.
He is.
Because you can also see why he would gravitate to her. He's also very smart. In his own way, he's very cool. But he needs her strength.
He's very cool. Okay, could I have some evidence for that?
Juno says he's cool. That's good enough for me. He says, it's in one of the we'll get to it, one of the sweetest scenes in the movie, you're like the coolest person I know and you don't even try. And he just looks at her and says, I try really hard, actually. I think that's so adorable.
I think this is probably the role that cemented in the minds what we think Michael Cera must be like. And there have been comments such as a piece of Wonder Bread floating in milk, some of them made by me. But honestly, that fits the character. The fact that he's actually on a sports team and then actually sets a record and wins for the cross country is kind of cool because look what happens to like all the people around him. Nobody is high-fiving him. Nobody's like, awesome, because it's Polly Bleeker, and they're like, oh, it's Bleeker. So,
although I do like how his friend, obviously, the track star is where they're running along, and he's going, did you hear, Juno McGuff's pregnant? Yeah. Did you hear it's yours? Like, yeah. You should grow a mustache.
I can't.
Yeah, me neither. But I am going to stop wearing underwear to raise my sperm count.
Well,
like, what?
We'll come back to the whole whether that's a good idea or not, because we have a bunch of other people. Jennifer Garner is Vanessa.
Yep.
There is something really both sweet and sad about her because you can tell she really wants a child. And I don't know for sure. I think it's implied that there might be an issue on her side of things. I think she should look more closely at Mark. But she might not be able to carry a child for some reason, and it's obviously really heartbreaking, and she never comes out and says it. There's a couple of comments that Juno makes, and she winces in that, yeah, that's a touchy subject way.
Or,
but
yeah, that, like she says, I wish it was you, not me. And Vanessa's obviously like, yes, so do I.
Yeah. And I think that what she initially comes off as a very two-dimensional, woman of the suburbs. Uptight,
yuppie, career obsessed. That's one of the things, and I will get to this, that I really like about the movie is most of the characters are not what you expect them to be.
No.
But we're given a picture of them at the beginning, and then suddenly we realize, oh, that's not who they are at all.
Which is a lot like what it's like to go through high school and not be one of the popular people. So there's kind of an overarching metaphor of the whole film. Jason Bateman.
He was a surprise.
I want to like him. I mean, the character Mark Loring, I want to like him, but then he just gets so ultra creepy.
He gets awful. And the thing is, you can tell there's some hints, there's foreshadowing at the beginning that he's obviously not as into the idea of having a child.
No.
But initially you're like, oh, he's the cool guy and he's married to this uptight woman. And it's not that he doesn't want to be a father, he just doesn't want to, have a family with her. And then you begin to realize, oh, no, he's got his head so far up his ass, he's looking out his belly button.
Yeah, but I think Jason Bateman does a great job of making him both charismatic and then just like,
horrible.
Yeah. Allison Janney as
she's so great as
talk about a character that you don't expect. It's like, oh, it's a stepmom, and they don't get along.
Evil
blah, blah,
stepmother.
Blah. Nope, not at all. She's there every step for Juno, and I ended up really liking that character.
And Allison Janney just inhabits it. She's just so cool in this. They don't make a thing out of the fact that she's 11 feet tall.
Is she? I didn't know.
Allison Janney is like 6'1".
Oh,
yep. She is very tall.
I bet she's seated in every scene with Elliot.
Most of them, except when they're running out to the car.
He's not tall. Yep. Now, one character in this film that as soon as you see him, your opinion does not change, and that's J.K. Simmons, Mac McGruff.
Yep.
He is the dad we all wish we had. I mean, he's smart, he's caring, he's understanding of his own mistakes and accepting of them.
Magical, he's not.
He's just
clearly he's not very well educated.
Nope.
He's very blue collar.
Yep.
But he never wavers in his support of Juno, even though he's obviously really upset that she's pregnant. He's he doesn't berate her. He doesn't say he's going to throw her out of the house. He doesn't call her names.
No.
He's just I think the worst thing he said is, I thought you were smarter than this.
Yeah. Well, hormones have a lot to say when you're that age. And
I love how Bren says to him, did you see this coming? And she says, oh, God, yeah. She's like, I think teenagers are going to get bored and have intercourse, and I think Junebug was really dumb about it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's like the worst thing that they say to her. That's the other thing about Bren. The worst thing she ever says to Juno, even when she's furious at her for being a jerk, is go fly a kite.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's really good. There's a bunch of other actors. There's one I want to call out. Tiniest part in the film. They're in one scene, and that's Rainn Wilson as Rollo.
Oh!
And again, we're talking, this is a writer's character. This is not somebody who exists in real life, really. But his interaction with Juno in the beginning of the film.
He's the one adult that talks the way she and Leah do.
Yeah.
The weird slang that they've obviously made up themselves.
Yeah.
What's the prognosis, Fertile Myrtle?
Yeah, it's too good to be true, but
you're going to have to pay for that pee stick. It's not yours just because you marked it with your urine. He has some of the funniest lines, and he's in one scene at the beginning for like 2 minutes, and he's gone, but he is the one everyone remembers. Everyone remembers that he was in it.
I almost wish that we had come back to him occasionally to comment on the changing relationships that Juno has, because I bet there would have been some, but we have so much clever dialogue that it could easily have been overdone. So, but yeah, I adored him for that 3 minutes he's in the film.
Yep.
Anyone else stand out? I mean, everyone else is good, but there's like, not a lot of I mean, the punk
most of the
receptionist.
characters are sort of show up and disappear.
Yeah.
The punk receptionist, Emily Perkins, is fun. And I kind of like, oh Lord, I don't remember the actress's name. Oh yeah, Valerie Tran, who plays Su Shin.
Oh, right.
Who is obviously the very religious, somewhat outcast. She's the one protester at the abortion clinic.
Yeah.
With this ridiculous sign like, babies do not like murdering.
All babies want to be borned.
Yeah, yeah.
Borned. Okay.
And her interaction with Juno is fascinating. And you're kind of like, okay, who is... That's the cool thing about the movie. There are a lot of minor characters that you find yourself going, who is this person? I want to know more about them.
Yeah. I will say, since we're pretty much done with the acting, which none of which was bad, all of which was good, some of which stood out, Elliot Page being the top of that list, I think. Mm-hmm. If you were really to take this movie apart, I think you would find a lot of the characters, especially a lot of the female characters in this, kind of talk with the same voice, because Diablo Cody loves that pithy, glib dialogue, and it's
very
not
high speed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this movie is not like waiting for anything.
No.
So
this movie does not slow down.
No, it's very well paced and might actually be too fast. Let's talk about more of the story and more of the film. Gotta say, I'm not a woman, obviously. Don't know what it's actually like, but my judgment is this was the easiest pregnancy on record. Not even morning sickness, really. There's a mention of her puking in the jar once.
We see her barfing in the jar.
But she's like, it's not even like, that happened. Like, there is nothing.
She complains about it all the time, though. She talks about the way her body's changing. She can't stand it. The pain in her back. The way her clothes have to change. She complains quite a bit about it. It sounds like it is difficult, especially in the third trimester. The thing is, she's very young and very healthy. So pregnancy is easier when you're young. Maybe not when you're 16, but...
I can't go through it, never will go through it.
Yeah.
Don't know what it's like. But my feeling was it was an item in the film that they chose, and not the only item, but it's the item they chose to kind of gloss over a bit. I think that her difficulties, and the only thing we really see her doing is eating everything. Which
we do hear about it, though. And also, you got to remember, this movie is like 95 minutes long, and it goes through literally 7 months.
Well, and one of the things that I want to give credit to the movie for is that this is a movie that's really good at remaining focused on its one topic and not wandering off into unnecessary subplots or characters. Like the other kid on the track team that Michael Cera's character talks to, we don't find out that he later, got a girl pregnant, or, we don't, because a lot of films will do that. They'll be like, well, we need to have this love story to counterbalance that love story. And we only see Katrina once. And giving the stink eye. It's like, oh, that's just the way she looks. And then we see her, and it's like, maybe it is just the way she looks. But
yeah, she may have Bell's palsy or something that affects the side of your face.
Yeah. So we could easily have gone off to talk about Stifler's mom or whatever. And
or even about Juno's little sister, Liberty Bell, and why they named her that.
I'm really hoping it's just a nickname, and I'm really sure it's not.
Yeah, no, I'm betting on her birth certificate. It says Liberty Bell McGuff.
Yeah, because, okay.
But, yeah, well, maybe they call her Bell when she gets older. I don't know.
Yeah, and the one thing that I will say that it really doesn't talk about, and it's a little throwaway, which is kind of too bad, is her relationship with Bleecker. Because we know that she's very interested in him, and he at some point will admit to somebody that he's interested in her. But he feels like his heart's been broken. He says that at one point.
Yeah,
and
I'm the one. Because it's very clear he was in love with her before she realized she was in love with him.
Right. And it's implied, but not really stated, that once she becomes pregnant, she kind of stops hanging out with him. And it's not really apparent why, because she doesn't seem to hold any ill feelings towards him about this. I will give him credit as a character too. Paulie, when he's first confronted with the fact that she's pregnant and he's made her pregnant, is he says, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, he immediately, it's not what are you, it's us. I'm in this too.
Yes. Now,
and he is perfectly willing to follow her lead, which you get the feeling he does in general, as
or anyone's.
When Juno's parents are talking about, about him and about the fact that they had sex and about the fact that it was Bleecker.
Yeah.
And when they find out it's him, they kind of start laughing almost like,
yeah, really?
I didn't think he had it in him. And her best friend is there going, I know, right? But, when they're talking about it, Bren says, it wasn't his idea.
Yeah.
It's like, of course it wasn't.
No, and that does lead into something else that I'm both glad of and a little suspicious of, and that is the attitude about the entire thing. They are remarkably cosmopolitan, up-to-date about this issue. And in some ways, it's really refreshing because it could have instantly become this dramedy and sadness and just this big mess. And instead, by being understanding, things go a lot more smoothly than they could have.
That because they're also realizing that Juno is handling the situation in what is probably the second easiest way. The easiest would have been to get an abortion.
Right.
But she's not saying, I'm going to be a teenage mother. I want to keep the baby and raise it myself.
I'm going to go to the penny saver and find my salvation.
She says, I love that she finds a couple in the penny saver next to the ad for parakeets.
And I'm just, that part of the movie, I'm like, is this really a thing? That
in northern Minnesota, probably.
Okay, because it's it's kind of magical that it works out so well, and
especially with the first people she tries.
Yeah, and it's like, now I am glad there is a little bit of plot added with Mark and Vanessa, and the thing is that it's not big enough to cause a derailment of the main idea, which is here's somebody who got pregnant and that didn't want to, and they're actually in some mature way trying to find the right answer for what should happen.
They're trying to find the right thing to do.
And the film is tackling a couple of huge, the biggest issue is teen pregnancy. Another one is abortion and the idea of that. Sadly, this movie's still very topical today. We didn't make any big good decisions about this.
No, but we've made a bunch of bad ones.
There's also a little bit about the, idea of not being able to conceive and how that actually can affect people. And I've known people that are like Vanessa that no, I want to be a parent. That's it. That's what I want to do. Maybe I want to do something else as well, but it's really in them to be a parent. And what do you do when you can't actually physically conceive one way or the other?
And she deals with it in a very mature and sensible way. All right, I can't have my own child. I could become angry and bitter about it, but no, I'm going to adopt. Because there are children out there who need parents.
And I'm going to advertise in the pennies.
I'm sure we know that's not the only thing they did. Because they talk about they had trouble before. Well, and that's one of the reasons there's no baby shower. Although they won't come out and say it, it's because they don't know if it's actually going to happen.
Well, there's an implication that there was another attempt that didn't follow through.
They don't. It's not an implication. She says that they say they had someone else, but they got cold feet.
Yeah. So and it very lightly touches on something that would become a much bigger issue later on, and that is the idea of mental health, right? Because this kind of thing, and again, I can only speak from the outside, but I'm guessing that this kind of thing can be really crushing for a woman who desperately wants to be a mother and physically can't.
Yeah, it's not just internal, it's societally. If you can't have a child, people go, well, you're not a real woman.
Or some other BS.
Some absolute crap like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the implication. There is... A friend of mine told me once about a piece of graffiti he saw in Dublin, over in Ireland. And this was only 10 years ago or so. And it was supposed to be this terrible insult. And it says, Deirdre, someone or other, is barren. That was the worst thing they could think to write about this girl.
That's awful.
It really is. On so many levels. But yes, there is and you see that Vanessa is up. This also implies how strong she is. It's the way we see Vanessa at the beginning and the way we see her at the end are so different. That's one of the... She and Juno both have real character arcs in this movie. There are some incredibly touching scenes with Vanessa when they're in the mall and Juno sees her playing with this random child who, admittedly, I'm going, where's the kid's mother? And does she know this?
I think it's implied that she's with the mother and they're at the mall together. But
yeah, I think so. And then when Juno takes her hands and puts them on her belly so she can feel the baby kick, and the baby doesn't kick, so she says, talk to it. That is so touching.
Well, even before that, Vanessa looks up and says, it won't kick for me. Like she thinks that somehow there's not going to be a bond. And then it does, and her face...
Oh, the way her
Vanessa
face
through the
lights
whole
up.
film had this kind of slightly manic, worried look to her. But yeah, that feeling like this is going to happen is really, really touching. And in the very last scene, we see Vanessa at the hospital. It's like, oh, do you want to come in and see your son? That is the thing she wants more than anything in the world. And we are left the same way I'm sure Juno was, feeling, yeah, that kid's going to be fine.
And that line when she's holding the baby and she just looks over at Bren, who she doesn't know from a hole in the wall, and says, how do I look? And Bren says, you're going to have to bleep it, but like a new mother, scared shitless.
Yeah.
And that is just a beautiful moment.
It is. It is. I will say that this is kind of the Wonderful World of Disney version of what this usually comes out like.
Everything in this works very smoothly.
Yeah, everything.
Way smoother than it usually does in real life.
You could definitely say that that's not necessarily a positive aspect of the film.
It's not a documentary. It's a rom-com.
But by ignoring almost every potential negative issue, it's almost like saying, you know what, kids, go ahead and have a kid. It'll be fine. You know what, everything will work. It's fine.
I didn't get that feeling at all. I got the feeling that if you get pregnant, it's not the end of the world.
But again, she lucks out because not only is the pregnancy, everything works fine. There's no other complications, no medical issues really besides, oh, that stinks. Like literally that's the worst she says. The father is still hanging around. The parents are all like, hey, we'll take care of you. Everything's fine. She meets Mr. and Mrs. Whitebread who have lots of money and can take the child. And I'm not saying that that's, in the context of the film, okay, but it is painting a very rosy picture, you have to admit.
I could see that.
A couple of other quick positives, though. The shots in this film are almost Wes Anderson-like. He has a lot of straight-on shots where things come in from the sides.
It doesn't have the weird choppy jumps or the strange overhead shots, or it's not twee like Anderson is.
There are some shots that kind of are. This is not a bad thing. I think it's actually nice that we're not trying to do anything weird cinematographically. Because this is a film about an everyday thing, right? A simple thing. So I like that. I also like the fact that the film looks very lived in. Like everything here, you're like, yeah, okay, that Juno's room. I love her room.
Her room is so cool.
I wish my room was that cool.
Yep.
But yeah, those are...
And Mark and Vanessa's house looks exactly like Vanessa's house is going to look. Everything... It's Cameron's house. It's very cold and very beautiful, and you're not allowed to touch anything, although you know that's going to change.
Yeah. With Vanessa, you can see like that one room that has carefully piled stuff from the previous baby shower. You know that Vanessa is very soon going to go, the heck with it. It's all over the house. I don't care.
Yeah.
A very interesting point. The son in question of Juno being raised by Vanessa. She didn't ask for compensation, so no. The son in this film that Vanessa is raising is the same age today as Juno was when she gave birth in the film. Because 17 years ago. Yeah. But I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to bring up before we got to that big point, whether we A, liked the film, and B, thought it should have won.
There are a couple things.
Sure.
One, the repeated shots of the track team running by. I really like that. I realized why. It reminds me of a silent Greek chorus.
Oh.
They're always there. They're part of the scenery, but they're alive. I thought that was kind of interesting.
What was that film where there was this woman running across the country and she was towing this little trailer with a siren with a little light on it, and she kept showing up throughout the film? I wish I could remember what that was. I want to. Was it?
But,
oh, you know, I think it was Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
oh, okay.
So similar motif. Yeah.
I do like that. I also really like the last shot of the movie, where Juno and Bleeker are just sitting on the front steps singing, and you don't even realize it's happening. It's done so slowly. The camera is slowly moving back and just showing the house and everything around and where they are. I think that's really nice.
I think it also underlines that point you made about Reitman saying, nah, story's done. We're done. No more.
Yeah. And there are some, as you say, it is a writer. The big thing is the dialogue. It's a writer's movie. But I do like just some of the nonverbal stuff. When Juno is sitting in the minivan by the side of the highway crying when she realizes that Mark and Vanessa's marriage is falling apart.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And that shot of the car pulling back onto the highway as a train's pulling alongside out in the middle of them, of East Jesus nowhere in Minnesota, I think is very effective. It's like okay, I'm going to get on with it. And I love the note that she writes.
Yeah, me too.
We don't see what it is until the end of the movie.
No, because she doesn't want Mark, who's become a creeper, to see it. But yeah, we should get to that part, though.
We should. The finish.
So, Max.
Yeah.
You saw it when it came out. Have you seen it but since then?
Yeah, seen it several times.
So you're just trying to pick it apart because of all those things you hate about this movie.
Yes. I hate watch it every time. I like this movie so much.
Yeah.
I think this movie is terrific. I do think it should have won, although we'll talk about what did and why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's wonderful. Like, the performances are great. I think the writing's terrific. I like the camera work. I like the pacing. It's so tight. I don't think there's anything unnecessary in this movie at all, and that's rare as hell. And I really like the soundtrack.
The soundtrack is almost the indie soundtrack to end all indie soundtracks. Like, it is beyond a character. It is just, and it's so indie. Most of the bands are like, who? Yeah. It's like when you bring in Sonic Youth, who again is not a household name. It's like, oh, good, somebody I've heard of.
Hey, they were on The Simpsons.
There you go. So you vote yes, and you would have voted for it for. Now, to be fair,
I would have wanted it to win Best Picture, if nothing else, because comedies almost never win.
It's true.
What about you? You saw when it came out. We've established that. Have you seen it since? Besides this viewing,
I'm not sure. I think if I did, I only saw it once. It was 17 years ago, so I think at some point I might have watched it again. It's a darling film. It really is. It is a very rosy picture, and it's a very tough issue. I think that's the only issue I have, is that for a very tough, sadly, still very controversial issue 17 years later, it doesn't examine much of the negative side. It's not the point of the film. The point of the film is it's a comedy. Although, again, teen pregnancy and abortion, ha ha ha. It is a writer's film. We don't see a lot of these. The dialogue, you could make the comment that this is no teenagers talk this way. If they did, I'd find them a lot more interesting.
It's a movie. That happens.
And let's face it, you and I probably think we sounded like that in high school.
Oh, we totally did. Yeah, we were totally that cool. Yeah.
I think I'd never seen Elliot Page before. I think it's a great introduction to him. Yep. I think that it is one of his best roles. J.K. Simmons, I don't remember before this until I think he showed up in Spider-Man, and I fell in love with J.K. Simmons, as most of us did. Yep. Great performances, great soundtrack. It is a lot of fun. On one hand, I don't know if I would vote for it for Best Picture, not because of what did win, because it is, in its way, not a remarkable film, right? It's very true to life in a way. It's very everyday. It's not a big subject, except it kind of is, except that it's so satisfying.
Yeah, and it's beautifully made. It is such a thing unto itself.
It's kind of a love letter, and it's, you know what, it's not typical. It is not typical high school. We don't deal with a lot of the things, like, you know, we don't. There's a little bit of that one jock that gives Juno a hard time, and she says, oh, I know he really is interested in me, and we're like, yeah, that's wishful thinking, until later when it's like, oh, you know what, maybe he is.
Yeah, no, she's right. That's the thing. Juno is always right in these things.
So I'm not sure. It was a weird year, because other films I never saw, was one of them was Michael something, that was one of the films nominated for Best
Michael
Picture.
Collins?
Michael something, I don't remember. I never saw it. One of them was There Will Be Blood, which you and I saw, and which I did not enjoy and did not think should be Best Picture. But
you didn't want to drink my milkshake?
Not on air, I don't. I'd have to wash it out with some Maison de Velour. No, but what did win was No Country for Old Men, a movie I have not seen or had not seen, and knew nothing about except it was violent and it had Javier Bardem in it, and that if I watched it, I would probably have nightmares about Javier Bardem forever.
Oh, not necessarily, friendo.
Now, did you
Anton Chigurh is a friggin' icon now.
Yeah. Did you see No Country?
I did. I saw it when it came out.
What did you think of it?
I think it's a terrific movie. I think it's really well done. It's very Coen Brothers right up until the end.
Yeah.
The end and we're done.
So I appreciate ambiguous endings, but this film really just didn't have one. It's very much like this, if you will help participate, Max. Yeah. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Movie.
Movie who? Hello? I heard someone knock and say movie. Hello?
Yeah, that's not ambiguous. That's
like going to, that whole movie is like going down a stairs and the last step isn't there.
It's the Coen Brothers, so there's parts where it's very brutal. Oh, yeah. There's some, the performances are all good, although I will say, I had never seen Javier Bardem before. In a way, there's nothing surprising here. We've seen Josh play this role before. We'll see him play it again.
We've seen Tommy Lee Jones play Tommy Lee Jones.
He had some nuance to him that we don't always see, though. This sort of like sad detachment, which was good. And Javier Bardem is really, really frightening.
Incredibly menacing in this.
And it's the Coen Brothers. So I thought, as soon as I saw it was the Coen Brothers, like, I'm going to decide that this film should have won. But the lack of ending literally says to the audience, ha ha, you're not getting that 2 hours back. And I just like, what? I don't understand. I literally don't understand the point of not tying up anything. Nothing in the film is tied up. So I don't think it should have won. Should Juno? I'm not sure. And I guess, part of it, I'm just as biased as a lot of Hollywood. It's like, should a comedy win? Maybe this one should have. I'm not sure. I enjoyed it a lot more, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. It's they're such different movies. It's very hard to judge between them.
Yeah.
I find it a more satisfying movie than the No Country for Old Men.
Well, and also, at least Juno tries to say something. What does No Country for Old Men say? Oh, we've gotten more violent as we've gotten older. Well, do I need to see that? I don't know. No, things don't always end with a nice, pat ending. Okay, that's not why I go to see a film. You're telling me a story. If you haven't bothered to come up with an ending, my feeling is you haven't finished your job. So, yeah, no votes here for No Country for having won. And maybe 1.5 for Juno. Max says yes, I say. I'm not sure. So.
Yeah.
But I know I am sure about, and that is that we have a poll question, and you'd best tell us what it is.
Yes, we do. And inspired by this very movie, we'd like to know, what is your favorite Michael Cera performance?
Yes.
He's been in more things than you might think, certainly more than I thought about. And I realized, oh, wow, I've seen him in this. I saw him in that.
Yeah, like Barbie.
Or did you enjoy him once in another project with Jason Bateman, where they play father and son in the TV show Arrested Development?
Did not know.
So let us know. And you can let us know by either emailing us at maxmikemovies.com or going to the website, maxmikemovies.com, and leaving us a comment. You can find us on the Fasting, Booking, Twitting, Twatting, thingy, Zucker, Sweaties, whatever.
Facebook.
Spaceship! Under Max Mike Movies, and you can find us on virtually every podcast app in the known continuum.
Including
YouTube Music now.
Ooh, that means we finally made it.
We're going to get that sweet, sweet YouTube money.
Hey, I'm still waiting for that kickback from Deep House.
Seriously.
How many times have we mentioned them on this show? We should definitely...
Oh, so many times. We should keep track and
heck, you and I rented it.
Yeah, we did.
We did. There's $4.
Yep. that we'll never see again.
We've increased your profits 200-fold.
So we're a serious part of your budget now, pal.
Yeah.
But we are barely halfway through our didn't win series. So, Mike, what didn't win next week?
Well, so we're going to take a suggestion from one of our listeners, or at least one of our poll question answerers, and I'm going to pick a film that technically couldn't win, and that was because it wasn't actually nominated. It was one of those films that people think really should have been, and there's an interesting bit of trivia I did not know about this, but it wasn't nominated. So next week, you and I are finally just going to do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Just do the right thing, Max.
Oh, so you mean we're gonna please, baby, please. We're gonna watch little Spike Lee?
Yes, we're going to watch a Spike Lee joint. I don't know why it's a joint. I've never understood that unless he means that there's some puffing going on. I don't know. But just do the right thing. Do the right thing. There's no just. Do the right thing. Was not nominated, but a lot of people. It did win for writing, I think, but wasn't nominated for best film. But we're going to find out why. One of our listeners, thought this is something that was a travesty because the film that did win that year was Driving Miss Daisy.
Oh yes.
Which, if you put those two films together, I have not seen either one, but I have this feeling if you put them together, there's going to be quite the contrast. So if you like contrast in your podcast. That almost rhymed. Actually, it did. Then tune in next week for Do the Right Thing.
This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.